This is A World Gone Mad, Season 1, Episode 41. Hello, I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf. Last week I said it was the calm before the storm. This week, we are in the eye of the storm. Basically, just 1 week left before the election of the President of the United States for our country. Of course, depending on when you listen to this episode. 1 week left before the citizens of our country determine the direction of our country for the next several decades. 1 week left to tell us whether November 5th, if the election is called the same day, or November 6th, what our country will become. Will we finally get the turnaround all of us are looking for? To become better than we are right now, to reach goals and heights never before seen in our country? Or is this the final nail in our coffin that closes the door to any hopes and dreams of the citizens in America? Hey, make no mistake, listeners, this is not hyperbole. This is not Jeff being overly dramatic. This is reality. There is a dagger, and the tip of that dagger is touching our heart. And there are millions of people on the other side holding that handle of the dagger, ready to plunge it into the heart of this country and destroy democracy as we know it. Donald Delusional and his millions of MAGA supporters are at a fever pitch, and they are ready to drag this country, America, our country, down into the darkest moment in time we have ever seen. Their hatred, their racism, their ideas of what the United States of America should become is sick, cult-like. The rhetoric that spewed forth unrestrained at Donald Delusional's rally this weekend in New York and Madison Square Garden was dark and disturbing. One comedian who was a speaker at the rally said, "We have a floating island of garbage in the ocean right now called Puerto Rico." Really? This is MAGA and Donald with hatred, disdain, zero care or love for anyone that is different from themselves. Sound familiar? Listeners, this literally is the fight for all of us and our country and our way of living. This is not me being crazy or conspiratorial. This is honest. I'm not trying to create fake controversy like other podcasts, other talk show hosts do. This is genuine. There is hatred and racism here. And yes, fascism from Donald Delusional and his supporters. So please forgive me if I get a little emotional, but you need, and I'm talking to you, the listeners, to not necessarily engage with the other side, but ask everyone you come across this week before the election, hey, have you voted yet? If they answer to you back yes, leave it alone. Move on. Don't go any further as long as they answer you back yes. If they answer you back no, I'm undecided yet on who to vote for, that's your opening as a listener to ask them what they're undecided about and engage with them. Tell them, implore them. Do they care about this grand experiment called America? And do they want it to continue? Implore the people you come across to vote if they haven't and to care. Tell everyone we should not have to accept the path that this country is going on with Donald Delusional and his supporters. I honestly don't think I have any of my listeners who are undecided at this point. Now, I may be wrong, but if you are undecided, why? What is keeping you from making a decision? Our path is clear. I also doubt I have any Republicans listening to my show anymore. They left long ago. They couldn't stand the truth. And I'm going to state something I've repeated over and over again this year during my podcasts about my friends and family. Some of you have heard this before, but it bears repeating. Some of them are voting for Trump or have voted for Trump for this election. I have a handful of friends in Israel who think Donald Trump is the best choice for them to help Israel. He isn't. How could you even think that? I have another friend who thinks Kamala Harris is, quote, an idiot, and he will possibly vote for Trump. Shame on you. And I don't wish my friends and family harm. I really don't. But if you vote for Trump or are going to vote for Trump before November 5th, I do not want to have anything to do with you. I can't. And I'll probably burn off my friends and family. I don't care. This is not me saying, well, you didn't vote for my choice, so therefore I'm going to be petty about it. No. This is easy. This is fundamental. This is about right or wrong, and a vote for Trump is just frigging wrong. Shame on you for voting for him and contributing to the possible destruction of our country. Think about this. Let me state this out loud and hopefully voice all of my feelings. I believe all of my listeners get this, but for the handful of you that don't, for some strange reason, listen carefully. If you are 65 years or older and have Medicare, do you realize under Donald you're not getting an extension or an expansion on Medicare? Do you understand that? You're going to get a gutting of it. That's a fact. That's reality. That's not wishful thinking on my part. If you're a younger listener of mine and your parents are on Medicare, they're going to suffer. Do you not care for your parents? If you're 68, 69, or 70 years old, the same thing applies to Social Security. It's going to be gutted under Trump. And if you rely on Social Security, a check each month to make it through each month, you're out of freaking luck with Donald Delusional. 1 week before the election. 1 week to find out what happens to our country. How are you feeling? Several people wrote me that they're depressed physically and basically ill about this coming election. I talked about this last episode. Not a joke, people. I'm asking you, what are you going to do November 5th at the end of the night, or November 6th, or whenever this election is finally called one way or the other, and you find out Donald Delusional is in the White House again? Are you going to go about your day-to-day activities and say, oh, well, that's politics? Because if you are that casual with this outcome, then that's sticking your head in the sand. Are you going to leave this country? Well, that's stupid, Jeff. Why would anyone do that? Well, guess what? I have a handful of friends that I talk to directly and in emails and texts, and family members who said this exact same thing to me. That's what they're going to do if Donald becomes president. My girlfriend had her passport renewed several months ago. Mine isn't renewed yet. And I literally have friends and family members saying they're planning to move to another country. This is the episode to text me, email me, or leave me a voice message and what you're feeling right now. Take 1 minute out of your day to vent. If it makes you feel better, go ahead, vent. I'm here for you. Tell me deeply what you're feeling right now, a week before the election. Email me, wolfpacklistener@gmail.com. Wolf, W-O-L-F, pack, P-A-C-K, listener@gmail.com. This is absolutely the one time you should be contacting me and letting me know your thoughts and engaging with me. I have a core group of listeners, people that email me or text me, but the majority of the 500 plus listeners to this podcast don't. Now is the time of all episodes before the election to tell me how you're feeling. Share with me your thoughts. I also have the toll-free number I told you about. It's anywhere in the United States, toll-free or Canada, where you could voice your opinions. When you dial the number, I'm not going to pick it up. Don't worry about it. Nobody's going to answer the phone when you dial. It's just a voicemail box. This is the time to leave a voice message. People, we are fighting for our country. This is no exaggeration, no hyperbole. This is the reality. Here's the number, everyone. 833-399-9653. 833-399-9653. Use it. I'd like to hear from you. I'm expecting a lot of you to use it, especially because of this election. Take as long as you want when you leave the message, unlimited. What are you feeling? Do we have a country left if Donald becomes president? Are you leaving or maybe just moving to another state to get away from the red state that you currently live in? How are you going to cope day to day for the next 4 years or the rest of your life if you're in your 60s? I have young people listening to my podcast. I have ex-military listening to me. I have elderly people who are sick and dealing with health issues. I have all ages, walks of life, and genders listening to this podcast. Email me, text me, use the phone number, leave a voice message. I'm not doing this out of ego, people. I'm doing this out of giving you an opportunity to share with me and others what your thoughts are right now about our country and the threat of Donald Delusional. Do you realize that my podcast is straightforward, without frills? A lot of you text me, a lot of you recommend other podcasts, other talk show hosts, other YouTube channels. And do you realize the majority of those that you recommend are shows that are put together that spin fake narratives or use graphics or video clips? Not all of them, but anyone can do that. My podcast is me, my thoughts, my feelings, my ideas. I try to inform. I try to inspire. I try to generate feedback. I'm not making money from this podcast like the other podcasts you listen to. Think about that. I'm doing this to share. A lot of the other podcasts are doing this for their bank account. So give me a text, an email, or phone call. Looking forward to hearing from you. And I just ask you, as I said before, leave your first name, city, state, country, where you're calling from, or where you're listening from. That helps me so I get a general idea of the audience. Thank you for letting me go on a little bit long about contacting me. But that's how I exist. Without your feedback, I'm talking to myself. So let's talk about the polls currently where they stand, okay? CNN's final poll on the presidential race had it 47% Kamala, 47% Donald. Here's the craziest part with the breakdown of that poll from CNN. They told us that Kamala has a bigger percentage lead of women supporters than Donald. That's understandable. 12%, double digits. Okay. But then they told us that Donald has the white males supporting him. And ready? 12% over Kamala. A tie. A dead heat. How staged is this poll from CNN? I feel right now, putting everything together that's going on for the past couple of months, the polls and surveys are bogus. Okay? So I'm left with my gut, and I'm left with my intelligence, and I'm going to go back to Professor Lichtman, who says he has not changed his opinion that Kamala is going to win. Nate Silver's 538 last left us with Kamala is up by approximately 1.8%. So think about this. If she's up by a percentage point or a half a point in the swing states, or she's down by a percentage point in the swing states, it's basically a dead heat again. All right, so here's my thoughts and viewpoint. And there's no way in my mind that Donald Trump gets more than 46 to 48% of the vote, even with his base. If Kamala is at 47% of the vote, there's more chance of her going higher to 50% than Donald moving to that level. That's just my opinion. If the race, according to all the polls recently in the last 24 hours, are that close, but Kamala wins the majority of the swing states, then that's a landslide victory for Kamala. I don't know if that'll happen, but it might be. Also, Ruben Gallego is leading Kari Lake in Arizona, my state, for the Senate by double digits. If that's the case, how is it that Gallego beats the Republican Lake, but Kamala doesn't beat Donald Trump in Arizona by double digits as well? That makes no sense. So I'm thinking this is a very interesting situation. So I'm going to ask you, the listeners, the Wolfpack, for another call to action, another question for you to respond to me in email, phone, or text. And I'm asking to hear from you on this one. Okay, I'm expecting to hear from a lot of you. What's your final electoral vote number? If you want to throw in the popular vote final, let me know. What do you think is the final count on the electoral votes? Okay, wolfpacklistener@gmail.com, 833-399-9653 voicemail. Will anything this week move the needle on the voting? I don't think so. I think it is what it is, where we are today before the election. The only thing that might move the needle is if the rhetoric and venom, like at the Madison Square Garden rally, from the Republican side gets darker this week. Maybe it sways some Republicans and undecided voters to vote for Kamala. So here's my gut, my intelligence, my research says final vote will be 337 votes to 201 Kamala. 337 Kamala, 201 Donald Trump. What's your vote? Guys, this is fun, stressful, but let me know. So come November 5th, if you're not working, we're going to sit in front of the TV when we wake up with our snacks and a drink, watch the news and wait for the polls to close and watch the returns come in. Will the next day or two after the election is over bring us a new awakening, a new horizon, a new level of joy in our hearts for this country we call America? Or will we be seeing the destruction and the end of the freedoms we've so enjoyed for our life if Donald Trump becomes the next president again? I sincerely, from my heart and soul, believe that's what this election is about. Women's choices, voting rights, saving and expanding Social Security and Medicare, global warming and solving it, gun laws to protect our children from more shootings in schools, and dozens of other crucial issues, immigration, the economy, etc. This is our moment in time. This is the election to determine the direction of America. What will you and I see when the results are finally in? Will all of us be able to take a deep collective breath and purge the heavy doses of venom going through our system, mind, and soul? Or, as corny as I call this, will the dark side prevail? Will we wake up down, broken, depressed, and lose all our beliefs and institutions, even worse, and the structure of this country, and right versus wrong, with the opposite result than what we want? I pray to God, fate, karma, whatever you want to personally call it, I pray the last remaining 20 years of my life are not dark and dismal. As a nation, we must triumph. This is so very crucial for our country and us, the people of America, to finally see justice given to people who flaunt the law, and they pay the price finally for thinking they're above the law. The rest of this week until the election, I'm going to be sitting and watching the news. There's nothing much any of us can do at this point other than wait. Because of the election on Tuesday coming up, I'm not going to be releasing my next episode Monday night the following week. So the normal schedule, where I release it Monday night and it's ready Tuesday morning, you're going to be watching the election. We won't have necessarily the results of the election. I hope we do. I won't know the results of the election, so there's no sense me recording an episode Monday, the 4th, until we hear what's going on. So I'll be posting my next episode on Wednesday. And hopefully us will have the election results so we could share with each other, and hopefully it'll be great news. And you and I can celebrate in a tremendous fashion together. Until next week, this is A World Gone Mad. I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf. And now more than ever, we need to stay hopeful and I send out a big virtual hug to each and every one of you.
There is chaos in the world. Can't you see?